All right, this is an article that came out yesterday, and this is one black man that was able to fight the white supremacists back. This is an interview how Corey Long fought white supremacy with fire. And as you can see, he has an aerosol can that's shooting flames. The images that flash before our eyes on television and social media from this weekend's racist riot and counter-protests were ones filled with rage, hatred, and sadness. The world bore witness to the results of an election filled with hostility and fear-mongering, which gave people who elected a racist demagogue into office the balls to remove their robes and masks. And unfortunately, all hell broke loose in Charlottesville, Virginia. From the death of Heather Heyer to the brutal beating of DeAndre Harris. That was the one that was beaten with the pipes inside of a parking garage by white supremacists, and the numerous other injured. It'll be a long time before the residents of Charlottesville will be able to make any sense of what happened. But Corey Long, a lifelong resident, not only witnessed the town going from peaceful to chaotic, but was captured in one of the most iconic photos taken over the 3-day period. The 23-year-old elder care worker says he went to the counter protests to have his voice heard. He didn't want to see racism win and destroy the city he was raised in. I went out to voice my opinion, he said, to have my freedom of speech, just like the racist Nazis who took over my town, Long said in an interview with The Root. But what started out as a peaceful protest eventually turned violent. And Long says the police stood around and did nothing. And you know, a lot of their police department in Charlottesville is coming under a lot of fire by both sides for not doing enough. At first, it was peaceful, Long said softly as he spoke, until someone pointed a gun at my head. Then the same person pointed it at my foot and shot the ground. Long said the only weapon he had was a can of spray paint that white supremacists threw at him earlier. So he took a lighter to the spray paint and turned it into a flamethrower. And you can see that in the photograph above, right here. So they ultimately gave him a weapon that he was able to turn on them. I don't think they'll be tossing any more cans again in the future. I don't think so. And a photographer snapped the photo. But inside of every photograph, there's an untold story. If you look closely at Long's picture, there's an elderly white man standing in between Long and his friend. The unknown man was part of the counter-protest too, but was afraid, and Long and his friends were trying to protect him. Even though Long says those who were paid to protect the residents of Charlottesville were doing the opposite. The cops were protecting the Nazis instead of the people who live in the city, Long said. The cops basically just stood in their line and looked at the chaos. The cops were not protecting the people of Charlottesville. They were protecting the outsiders. Some may wonder why the cops didn't do more to protect the normally quiet town, but Long wants to know why the KKK were allowed to march when the same city wouldn't let rapper Waka Flocka hold a concert. They shouldn't have allowed it. They wouldn't even allow Waka Flocka to come down. You wouldn't let a rap artist come down, but you would allow the Nazis? There is something wrong with this picture, Long said. Long didn't want to paint Charlottesville with a picturesque town where everyone walks around town in rose-colored glasses and racism never existed before this weekend. But he did say the Unite the Right event definitely put a blemish on the city. And to see the life of his friend, DeAndre Harris, who's only been in Charlottesville for 2 years, flashed before his eyes while people stood around and just took photo ops. He's left even more confused than before. Long was in the parking deck with Harris as he was getting assaulted by white supremacists. But Long wasn't the only one there. There were other people standing around with their cameras not helping. They seemed to be just worried about capturing the perfect shot. The white supremacists told us to die nigger in the garage, Long said. And when one of the chants, he picked up a stick and tried to use it on, to his advantage. Even when Long finally was able to help Harris to get him to safety, the white supremacists were unrelenting. Harris and Long ran into a stairway, and they were chased there by the racists as well. The Nazis tried to force their way into the stairway that they were hiding in. The fact was that they photographers just stood around recording everything. The fact that they didn't help us, I was outraged, Long stated. Long didn't understand how people could be so hateful in this day and age, and he said he'll never understand why his city gave hate an outlet. But then again, we are in the Trump presidency. So this is the world we live in. Pure hatred is what happened in Charlottesville. The fact that everyone can hate someone because of their skin color is ridiculous, but the fact that the president doesn't speak on it is outrageous. All right, and this article was in The Root. I will post the link to it in the description box, and tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe, and if you can donate to my channel, please do. Peace, family.